Hey, y'all. Hey. Let me get my water. I'm here. I'm here, y'all. I'm here, y'all. I'm here. Hey, y'all. Hey. How y'all doing? Trying to fix my little thing. It's like the light is not giving. What is going on? How you guys doing? Let me load this. How are you guys doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome in, welcome in. Let us know where you're watching from, okay? Some water. Let us know where you're watching from. Hey, y'all. Thanks for being on here with me tonight. Where are you guys watching from? Let me know where you're watching from, okay? Where are you guys watching from? Where are you guys watching from? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so sorry we have to start a little later tonight. It is Sunday, okay? So Had some technical difficulties. For some reason, I feel like let us know where you're watching from. Where you guys watching from? Where are you guys watching from? We're about to get started. Tonight is going to be a fun live. I'm so sorry for some of you guys that probably had to miss it because I started late. So there's a lot of technical difficulties with trying to schedule this YouTube. And I believe Facebook and Twitch is on here. I'm not too sure, but if you are, welcome. PM. Oh, hey, Vanessa. Miss Vanessa in the house. Wisconsin in the house. Hey, South Carolina in the house. Yes, I'm loving it. Everybody is in here tonight. Let's see what the time is so I can try to hurry up and get you guys up out of here. Hey, Queenie, Cleveland in the house. Code 8, Cleveland in the house. It's okay. New York in the house. Yes. First of all, we should have some international watchers in the house, like if you're in Africa or anything like that, or even some parts of Asia, because it should be in the morning there, kind of, right? Welcome. Hey, y'all. I hope y'all enjoy the vibes. Did y'all at least enjoy the music, even though I started off a little bit late? Okay, we started a little bit late, but it's okay. We're still about to have a lot of fun in here today. So I'm super excited that you guys are here with me tonight. I cannot believe that the light looked like this. I might have to turn the light off back there because I really want you guys to see me. Y'all see my little plants? Y'all see my babies? Look at the babies. Look at the babies. Some of them are doing good. Some of them are struggling. But we're going to get into that another day. Okay, let me turn these lights off. So these are like my grow lights that I have over my plants. And I'm wondering if it is causing... Oh, God, I feel like it's getting darker. Like, what is going on? Like, can y'all see me? Why does it seem like the light... Why does it seem like my lighting is like darker? Now I feel like I have to turn it on because it's helping y'all see me. What in the world? I have no idea what's going on with the lighting today. What in the world is going on? What is going on? Y'all see me good? Hey, what is up with this? What is up with this? All right, let's see. I guess I'm gonna leave that on for now because it is doing what it needs to do. I guess it's helping the situation, but yes, thank you, girl, dad. Hit that like button if you haven't already done so. I'm glad you guys can see me. I'm glad y'all can hear me. Fantastic. Thank you guys. Thanks, Maureen. My girl's in here. Oh, I see all my people's in here. Shout out to you guys. Texas in the house. Shout out to you. Yes. Love it. All right, so let's get started, okay? For some of you guys that are new here, my name is Miss Yancy, and this is the Miss Yancy Network channel. We call this the Miss Yancy Network because there's a network of things that we do on here. It's not just one thing specific, but right now we're in our garden girl era, and it is an era, okay? So we are highly focused in gardening right now. There's a ton of things to do, and so much work to do, and it is actually gardening season. I say seed starting season / gardening season, depending on where you live and what zone you're in. Now, I am in the DMV area, specifically Maryland, and I am in zone 8A, and our planting area here, or the best time to plant outdoors, is in May during the week of Mother's Day. A lot of people try to push it to the end of April. I don't do that. I try to wait till around Mother's Day. Reason because around the Mother's Day time here in the DMV area is when the low temperatures are consistently 50 degrees and higher. So that is when you want to actually transplant your precious babies that we got growing into the ground, when the ground or the low temps in your area is about 50 degrees or higher, and it is consistent. So if it's going to be dropping below 50 degrees, you do not want to mess with that, because there's a lot of plants that do not enjoy the cold weather, especially heat-loving plants like peppers, tomatoes, squashes, melons, all of those things. They do not enjoy low temps. As a matter of fact, pepper hates the cold so much that if it got one day of low temp, let's say if you transplanted them outside one day, like they got one day of below 50-degree temps, it is going to stunt the growth. It is going to grow, but it's going to set it back at least a couple of weeks where, of growth, because it was like, it got that cold shock. So for some of my girlies in here or guys that, live in 8 and above or 9 and above zones, congratulations to you. I am very envious of you. But for us girlies that live in 8 and below, we are still in our seed starting process. We're doing a lot of things indoors so that we could get it ready for transplanting outdoors. So tonight, by the title of this live, you already see what we're here doing. So I posted a community post on YouTube asking you guys, what do you guys want to talk about today? Now, for some of you guys that are in my membership, it is a lot of the topics that you guys will mention. I will always cover it because you're in my membership, and I'll even go in more details in my membership to talk about specifically your gardening and your setup and things like that. But today I put it on the public post where I allow all of my beautiful subscribers to, let me know what is it that you guys want to talk about. We go live every Sunday. We have garden chats. We talk about all things gardening, or sometimes we have garden to table where I will share some recipes from my West African roots and we cook it together, but we're in the thick of it because it is seed/gardening season. So it's going to be heavy on the gardening right now. And I'm so busy with what I have going on here that I don't really have time to really put out videos for you guys like that, but I will try my best to definitely give you guys a video a week, especially for my members. If you guys have anything specific you want me to cover, I will always make sure I have that video for you guys. But that is the short introduction of who I am, what we do on this channel. We get into, multiple things, we're multifaceted on here. Okay. But right now we're in our gardening era. So we're about to get into it. Okay. So shout out to all of you guys that are up tonight watching with me. A lot of you guys that submitted your questions or comments on what you want us to talk about tonight. We are about to get into one very specific thing because I've been seeing this come a lot under my different videos. And so I was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. So we're about to do this live. We're actually about to have different garden designs, ideas for some of you guys. So I specialize in growing in small spaces. I have a small backyard garden. And for some of you guys, you may think it's big, but my backyard is a decent size, but I don't have the ability to grow food in all of the space. If I was able to, honey, I would. Okay. But I have children and they need space to play because we want them to have a good childhood. Okay. So we need to give them enough space. Plus, if we have events, but I have pockets. I have a designated small space where I grow majority of my food. And then I try to maximize on the corners of my garden, such as my chain link fence. So I try to grow things along the fence and in, little small pockets. So I'm the queen of maximizing space and trying to grow as much things as possible in the small allotted space that I do have. Okay. Now I know some of you guys live in apartments, so you have a balcony that you grow your food on, or a patio, or a deck or anything like that. So for those of you that grow your food in small spaces, I specialize in that. I'm the queen of maximizing on space and basically growing as much things as possible that I can get away with in those small spaces. So let's go ahead. Let me read some of these comments before we get started, because we're actually going to be doing a live setup on garden designs for some of you guys that were asking about it. It could give you some ideas on maybe, this is how you could do your own layout. And maybe these are some things that you could plant in your, what you could plant together, companion plants and things like that, just to get as much as you can with the little space that you have. Okay. Now, for some of you guys that are in my membership, if you have specific questions on your garden layout, definitely write in on our membership page. And when we go live, we're going to focus on your garden. Okay. So let's see here. Let me look at the comments real quick, just in case. and then we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm in South Carolina, zone 8B, and we had some off and on cold snaps that killed my pepper plants. Absolutely. Starting over with seeds in the greenhouse. Absolutely. So you are in the Carolinas. So we're technically almost in the same area, right? Are we consider the northeast, southeast, whatever? I feel like we're just right there in the middle, right? Like on that side. So we almost have kind of the same growing zones, even though South Carolina, your zones, you have hotter zones than us here in Maryland. We get more northern temps. Honestly, our temperatures here are very bipolar. It goes up and down. Like I remember one day it was like 70, it was like 80 degrees recently. And then the next day it was snowing. So I tell people, do not go based off what the temperature is right now. Go based off your zone hardiness. And how you can figure that out is just going on Google and Googling what zone am I in. If you're not sure how to figure out what zone, garden zone you're in, if you're a beginner, go on Google, type in what zone am I in, based on the county or the city that you live in. After you do that, I need you to Google when is my last frost date. Depending on your last frost date, that is when you're going to start the seeds of a lot of the plants that you want to grow. For things like peppers, they have a long growing time. They take forever to germinate and they take a long time to grow. Those are the things that you want to start way earlier before the amount of weeks, the 8 weeks before your last frost date. You want to start it like, I would say, like 2 to 3 months before your last frost date if you want to have like those big lush pepper plants to go, to transplant. And then, based on the seeds that you're growing, you're going to go based off of that, seeing, some of them may say, start the seeds 8 weeks before your last frost date or plant, things like that. So that's how, a little quick synopsis. I have a ton of video going over everything that we're discussing. So Ty D, do not go based on how nice it was feeling that week, because that week could be feeling nice and then the next week the temps drop. But if you are somebody who have already hardened your plants, because that's another thing a lot of people forget to do is to harden their plants. Once the temps start to look nice, like for us, we're planting in May, right? During Mother's Day. Once the temperatures start to look nice, not start to look nice, but like a week, 2 weeks before Mother's Day, we're going to start taking our plants that we grew indoors outside into like a shaded area. And we're going to start putting them outside for about 1 to 2 hours a day. And then for up to 7 days. And each day we're going to increase like the hours by 2. And so let's say today I took it out for an hour, May, right? Let's say May 1st. I took it out for an hour during the day while the temps are, above 50 degrees. I let it sit out for an hour, bring them back inside. The following day, we'll let it sit outside for like maybe 2 hours. The following day, then it's 3 to 4 hours. And then you're going to keep increasing the time until after 7 days, it could literally stay outside until you're ready to transplant it. You don't have to keep them in your house. If you're like me, I know this doesn't look like a lot, but back here, I have over 500 pepper seedlings that I have started, and I would say 95% of them germinated. So it's about to be a jungle in my house, because once they start to grow, it gets big. Plus I have other things that I'm growing. So, before you even transplant outside, you want to harden your plants, because that's another thing, right? You're growing your food indoors. Once you take it outside to transplant it, it could get shock from the weather outdoors, because you have had your plants in a very nice heated or maintained temperature in your house and is used to it. So once you take it outside, it's not used to the harsh winds and the sun and all of those things. So you have to gradually take it out there so it can get acclimated with the outdoors weather, which is the reason why you want to do that for at least 7 days before you actually plant it in ground in your raised bed or container or anything like that, outdoors. Okay. All righty. Oh, Maureen, you're going to bed? Okay. I'm so sorry. It's super late. I am hardening my collards, celery, and cabbage plants. Okay, y'all, let's get started. It is kind of late, and I know some people have to go to bed. So let's get started. Let's get started on our our let's get started. All right, so before you plant a single seed, you need a plan, right? Before you plant any of your seeds and things like that outdoors, you need a plan. You need some type of gardening plan. And for me, how I do my every year is I get a notebook, and based on the layout of my garden out there, how I have my bed set up, I first of all, I write down everything that I'm growing or that I want to grow for the year. And then based on the amount of garden beds or containers that I have, I decide on what can go where. So I write it down based on, the height and the width of things. And then I also look into what can be grown together in the same, area where they're not going to cause harm to each other or compete for nutrients and things like that. So I just get a notebook. I create like a little layout, so like this right here. Let me show you guys. So I would get like a notebook, right? And I will have, let's say, Miss Yancy Garden. All right. And then so for the back of my garden, like my main garden, where I grow a majority of my things, I have like multiple beds and like tons of grow bags back there. So I have 2 8x8 plots that are divided into 2, which makes it like a 4x8. So I have these 4x8s beds back there. So they're all divided into, actually, let me give you guys like an accurate garden layout of what my garden looks like. So I have 2 rectangular 8x8 bed. So I divide it in half. Mind you, this is what I'm drawing in my notebook. Okay. So now they become, so this 8x8 becomes a 4x8. So 4x8. 4x8. So back here, I have all tomatoes that I will grow in this 4x8. So the tomatoes that I have grown back here, they are like the large tomatoes that I will grow back there. And then in the front of, like in the other 4x8, which is really just one big bed, but I have blocks in the middle that have divided them in half. And so I will have like a lot of peppers, going here. And then in the front, last year I had eggplant, right? And then in this bed, in this bed, I had back here, I had corn and I had okra. So I had corn and okra back here. I'm about to show you guys a way nicer thing than this. This is not that great, but just follow it, right? This is how I plan my garden. And then in the front, I have peppers, more peppers, like hot. And then I have like I had a sunflower. So let's say flower. And the reason why the sunflower is so significant is because I had the mammoth sunflower, the seeds that I have in my store. So I had like the huge sunflower here, and I had corn and okra here. The corn and okra, they started to, all of the animals that own the backyard, they pick all of them out, ate them, and did whatever they wanted to do with it. I was like, you know what? I'm not about to go through this again with these squirrels and all of these things that think they own my backyard, which I guess they do. That's their home. But yeah, so they had a great time with that. So I was like, you know what? Have a good time. I removed the rest of the plants, and then I added tons of hot peppers. So I added like hot peppers. So in this bed, I had like sweet peppers, and then here I had hot peppers. And so this is the 2 8x8 beds that I have back there, right? So mind you, I'm not even telling you how many plants that was in each. It was a ton, but we're about to get real technical soon. So then in the front of my garden, I have an arch here. And then I have I think this is a 2x4 bed. I have like a 2x4 bed here. And so this is the arch that I have in front of my garden. And then in this bed, I have the cherry, like the rainbow cherry tomatoes. So like I put small tomatoes. So I have small tomatoes here. So I have small tomatoes here plus some flowers and herbs and things like that over here. And then in this bed, I had a ton of herbs, like a ton of different herbs, like oregano, basil, all of the things. What's the other one that I had? Parsley. I had what's the other one? Cilantro. So I had herbs in here, and then I have like more tomatoes in here. So this is not my entire garden, but I'm just giving you guys like an example of how I create like a drawing. So I basically draw my garden in the back, and then I go and that I get more detail into like what it is that I'm growing, and I'm gonna write where I'm gonna put certain things. Now, like for this bed right here that have the herbs, there's a oregano that's in there, and it comes back every year. It comes back every year, and it's a cold hardy plant. It comes back every year, and it comes bigger every year. So this bed is pretty much about to turn into like a whole herb bed. But I always like to put tomatoes in there, like, like a couple of tomatoes in there, because it's going to climb onto this trellis right here. And it is so important to grow your tomatoes and like certain foods with herbs, because especially tomatoes, if you grow with things like basil, oregano, like herbs, period, it really enhances the flavor of your tomatoes. So that's another like pro, right? It enhances the flavor of your tomato, but then it also help keep away like the pests and animals and stuff like that, because they do not like the smell of herbs. They don't like anything that is strong smelling. So this is like an example of my gardening, and what I do, I just get a notebook, draw it out, write down everything that I'm growing, and then I Google what it is that works well with each other. So with that being said, that's an example of my garden. So let's go like in more detail, right, into some gardens that you may have, the different bed sizes. And then also for some of you guys that may grow on like a patio in like a smaller space, I have something for you guys that you may also, look at to see, and get some ideas from it. Okay. All right, let's go. Let's get started. Let me bring this up. Okay. So let me bring it to oh. All right. All right, so we're going to be in Canva. All right, we're going to be doing our handy dandy work in Canva as we're about to do, some of these designs and things like that. So this is what I have here. But I want you guys to drop in the comments when you like starting your garden, what is the feel of like, what is the feel that you're going for? Are you trying to be like have an organized garden? Are you trying to have a full and abundant garden? Like me, I chaotic gardening. I try to grow as many things as possible in one small space. That's me. I don't want y'all to be like me. I want y'all to do it the right way. Or do you want something that's easy to maintain? Can y'all let me know in the comments? Let me know in the comments. Like when you think of your gardening, what is it like? What are you going for? Are you going for, easy? Like what is it? What is it that you're going for? Let me know in the comments. Okay, let me know in the comments. All right, let me get this screen big while you guys are writing. Let me see what you guys are going for. All right. Hey Donzel, happy Sunday. Jen said organized is organized, but I want more full. Okay. 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 So you want to be like me? Not necessarily. You don't want to be like me. I don't know if it's a good idea to be like me, because yo girl don't know how to act. Okay. All right, 1 second, y'all. Let me see. What the heck? Alrighty. 1 second, y'all. What in the world? I'm trying to bring this thing up. All right. Uh-oh. Oh. Let me let y'all while you guys are writing your stuff, let me get these things together. Okay, good. I think I got it. All righty. I think I got it. What in the world is this? Like, what in the world? I'm trying to. Okay. Alrighty. I think we're good. Let me read some of y'all comments. I'm going to for full garden. Okay, easy and organized. Okay, good. Good. I hear you. I am organized person, so I like very organized. Okay. All right, so let's hop into our thing over here. Let's hop into it. Because your gardening layout is not just about what you want to move. It's not just about what you want to grow. Also, it's about like how you want to move around your garden. One of the biggest mistakes that I made for sure was like planting things too close, but we're gonna get there. But also I want you guys to let me know in the comments, are you guys growing in, like, what kind of space are you guys growing in? Are you growing in a are you guys growing in on like a balcony, or do you have like a small, like, what's the size of your garden? I want you guys to also let me know that. But all right, so this is pretty much right. So these are some foods that you can grow in your small garden. When you're planting, if you have like a small garden, uh you're going to, especially if you're planting in like a small bed, because right now we're about to talk about like the different sizes of bed and like basically what you could plant in those beds. And so I created like this little chart here of some of the common things that people like to grow, and these are some things that I also grow every year. I don't grow everything on here every year because for me, I grow more peppers. And one of the things that I will tell you guys is that when you're growing your food, please make sure you're growing things that you actually eat, things that your family eat. Don't just grow stuff because it seemed like it's easy to grow, and don't just grow stuff because you just now starting out and you want to figure it out. You want to get your feet wet and things like that. If you're just starting out, you want to get your feet wet, always grow something that you know that you're going to eat, something that you want to replace from the grocery store, something that you go to the grocery store consistently for, and you want to replace that. You want to be able to not have to go to the grocery store anymore. Like for me, I cook with a ton of peppers. I cook with a ton of peppers in all of our dishes. I'm West African, so we eat a lot of spicy food, and we just cook with a lot of peppers, sweet, hot, medium, whatever pepper, right? So I try to grow as much peppers as possible because I never want to have to go to the store to ever purchase peppers again. Also, I cook with a lot of herbs and spices and things like that. So those are the things that I like to grow. I like to grow things that I know that I spend a lot of money on when I go to the grocery store, outside of protein like meats and things like that. So you want to be mindful of that, okay? So be mindful of what it is that my family eat, what is it that I eat all the time, and what is it that I would love to not have to go to the grocery store for, something that you could freeze and keep, for months and months or even years. Because I have peppers that I think I just finished peppers that I grew from like 2 years ago. So, and those are things that can be in your freezer for that long. Okay, so here we have the foods. And so what we're about to do here, what we have here is a 2x4 bed, garden bed, raised bed. We are going to talk about containers as well here, but right now we're going to like, do the beds and things like that. So when you, because somebody specifically asked about like the gardening bed and what can they grow in it. When you're growing in your garden, a raised bed, and you don't have a lot of space, you want to maximize on the space. It's called square foot gardening. Square foot gardening is a really good method to go by. Now, based on the things that you're growing, they might have different heights, different width, and things like that when they get to like the full bloom. And you want to be extremely mindful of that. And square foot gardening is a really good tool to use because you're giving your plants and like at least enough space for it to grow, especially if there are things that are growing tall. So things that grow tall are things like, peppers, tomatoes, sunflowers, things like let's see, eggplant. It grows, really tall. And then you also want to think about things that vine. Okay. So for this 2x4 garden, some of you guys could let me know in the chat, like, what is it that you want to grow? And then we could probably like, pick off this list here and, and see how it will work out for you. So let's say if you had like a 2x4 garden, raised bed in your garden, or that's the only bed that you have and you want to maximize what you have, and you want to be able to grow as many things in there as possible that it's going to satisfy you. Okay, so in this 2x4 bed, if it was me, and I was trying to maximize on the space and I'm trying to grow as much things as possible, I would start by this, right? So first of all, you want to grow vertically. So whatever it is that you're doing, you want to grow your food vertically if you're in a small space, because growing your food vertically enables you to grow more food. So what I would do is if I wanted to like grow, peas, where is it? The peas right here, like peas or beans, pole beans or anything like this. So this is the pole beans. I would use like a thing like a trellis, or just, something for it to like land on. So things like pole beans, period, it add nitrogen to your soil, which is really good for things like peppers and tomatoes and things like that. So those are things that you can companion plant with. So I would totally add this let's see, add a pole bean in here. And so like things like pole beans, right, it does not need like the full square footage of this one square here. Mind you, this is a 2x4 bed. So you could plant multiple pole beans in here. You could plant multiple, let's say we want to add 2 pole beans here. And this is you wanting to have like a dynamic garden, right? You want to have something that's dynamic. You want to have fruit. You want to have vegetables. You want to have, protein, which is the beans, right? You want to have all of the things. Okay. So what I would do is I would add a trellis right here, and you want to make sure the trellis is either on the north or the east part of the bed. So we're going to have it over here. It's on the east side of the raised bed. And so we're going to have our pole beans. It's going to be climbing onto this trellis right here. And then for me, I love my melons. I love watermelons and I love cantaloupe. So you're going to pick either watermelon or cantaloupe, that you're going to add in the other square footage, or you could actually put both of them because they're climbing plants. So you could actually put both of those in here. Okay. So you could add like a watermelon here. You could add a watermelon in here, and then you could add a cantaloupe in here as well. Okay. All right. So we have our fruit. We have our protein. We got our beans in here. So we got some beans in here, and we have our fruit in here. Okay. The reason why you're able to grow both of these things next to each other, the reason why you're able to grow the cantaloupe and the watermelon next to each other is because we're growing it vertically. And because we're growing it vertically, the leaves, the tendrils, all of those things, they're going to connect to this. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. First of all, let me come and check and make sure y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay. Let me make sure y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay, some of you guys are leaving what it is that you want to grow in here. A point is sweet pepper and hot should close together. I learned the hard way. You said sweet pepper and hot shouldn't or should not be too close. You learned the hard way. Okay. Tomato, peppers, watermelon, herbs, and marigold. Okay. On my patio in my 3 green stalks. Okay, you have a green stalk. Oh, so you got you that's growing vertically because the green stalk is definitely a tall, situation. So that's what's up. And planters because I have dogs and I don't want to dig up my yard. Okay. I grow in grow bags and in ground. My in ground I have my tomatoes and cucumbers. Okay. Okay. All right. So sounds good. It looks like you guys can see me. I mean, y'all can see what it is that I'm doing. So that's good. So I'm about to continue to go in here. All right. So mind you, so this is if you had, like I said, a 2x4 bed and you have a trellis. If you don't have a trellis, I do not advise that you grow a watermelon and a cantaloupe together. If you do not have a trellis, do not grow it in the same bed because it is going to spread everywhere and it's going to cause issues because then they start tangling each other and, it gets messy and you don't want that. Okay. So now we have our cantaloupe and our watermelon here. We have our beans in here. So now we want some peppers. Okay. We want to add some peppers. So you could go ahead and add your pepper in one of the square footage. Like someone just mentioned. Hey, where did it go? I just pasted it. Where'd you go? Oh, it's over here. Someone just mentioned that they planted their sweet and hot peppers too close to each other. So you want peppers are things that grow super tall. So when you're planting your garden and you're growing, oh my gosh. Excuse me, y'all. I might need some hot water. People that sing when they use their voice too much, they drink some hot water. I think I might need some hot water, but I get hot too quick. I can do hot water. Anyway, peppers grow super tall. So when you're planting your garden, you want to remember that all the tall plants and the viney plants should be in the back, and all of the plants that spread or that grows wider and they grow shorter, you want them in the front. So you don't want to plant like your lettuce before your peppers or and things like that, because you don't want the lettuce to not get enough sun. So this is basically what we're here doing. So you'll plant your viney plants first. So, they're going to vine, they're going to grow onto the trellis and things like that. So then the next thing you want to go ahead and is plant things that grow super tall, things like corn, things like peppers and things like that. But we're going based off this little chart that I created here. So this is what we're going to do. So this tomato that we're planting here, this is a determinate tomato. You are not going to put an indeterminate tomato here because an indeterminate tomato needs a trellis for it to vine on. You can put a indeterminate tomato here in this spot right here if you have like a tomato cage. And to be honest with you, I feel like the tomato cage and all that stuff, it gets kind of messy and clunky if you like put it smack in the middle of your bed like this. But it could work if you have a tomato trellis. I mean, if you have a cage, and you could put like, those square cage right there. I would suggest like a square cage, but indeterminate tomatoes are tomatoes that continue to grow. Like as long as the weather is nice, it's going to continue to grow. I grow indeterminate tomatoes in the front of my garden that I showed you guys, on this chart right here. That's where I grow indeterminate tomatoes. I grow it on the trellis because it continues to grow throughout the entire season and it fills up my arbor and is it's very beautiful. I think for some of you guys that are not new here, you're seeing what it looks like. But in this particular bed, we're not going to put indeterminate tomatoes unless you have a cage. But we're going to put a determinate tomato. Determinate tomatoes are things like what is that tomato they use for tomato sauce? I totally forgot the tomato name. But you'll put a determinate tomato here. Determinate tomatoes are tomatoes that when they grow a ton at one time, and they blossom, they change color, yada yada yada. You're gonna get a huge harvest at one time. Whereas the indeterminate tomato is gonna continue to grow, so you're gonna get like tomatoes throughout the entire season. Okay, so we'll put like a determinate tomato here. We have our pepper here. You can have a sweet or hot pepper there. And things like tomatoes and peppers, they don't mind growing next to each other. They have the same requirements when it comes to growing the food that they need. Now, in this small bed, all of these things that we're putting here is a lot of things that's going into this small bed. So it is definitely going to require you to feed it a lot. It's going to need a lot of food. So you are going to need to fertilize it. Okay. So, all right, y'all. So we have our tomatoes and we have our pepper. This is if you live in, you have a small situation, you don't have a lot of space to grow food, and you want to grow as much as you can. So next, if you we're going to add our cabbage. If cabbage is something that you like, we could put a cabbage, and the cabbage need like a square foot. Like the entire square foot is needed for the cabbage because cabbage grow humongous. Also, we're going to add our collard greens in here because now we got our fruits, we got our beans, we have our pepper and tomato. Like I'm telling you guys, we're literally creating an entire food chart here that you could, after you harvest everything out of here, you are going to go ahead and cook it. Okay, right away. So we're going to add a cabbage in there, and then we're going to add a collard greens because some of you guys are growing collard greens and you mentioned it. So we're going to put our collard greens in here. All right. So we got collard greens and we got our cabbage, and we're going to leave it just like that. Okay. Stay in that 1 square footage. And then now we want things like, like herbs and stuff like that. We want some herbs that we want to eat. So we're going to add our basil in there. Where's our basil? We're going to add some basil in there because basil flavors our actually, we're not going to add basil yet because we're going to add basil next to this tomato right here. We're going to add basil next to the tomato. What in the world? We're going to add basil. We're going to plant basil near our tomato plant. And then we're also going to plant basil near our pepper plant. So you have basil right here. So you already have, you're able to use like this space basically right here. You can literally use this space right here in the middle to add your basil. We're going to put it over here because we want, when the watermelons start to grow, the leaves get super big and stuff like that. So we're probably just going to add it right here. We're going to add our basil right there. And then so we want to have, other things like our root plants, things like carrots. You want to plant your carrots. When it comes to carrots, you can plant multiple carrots in the same spot. You can plant multiple carrots in the same spot. So we're going to use this entire square footage for carrots. Okay. So we're going to plant and the reason why I say multiple carrots, because with carrots, you don't have to start the seeds indoors. In fact, I suggest that you just put the seeds, you throw the seeds like in this spot right here, in whatever spot that you want to grow your carrots in. I think that you should direct sow carrots. You don't have to start them indoors. It's not required. And then another root veggie that you could add there is things like radish. So these things that we're adding here, things like the radish and the carrots and stuff like that, these are things that they don't have a long growing time. Like radish, they're from seed to like fruit, I think it's like less than 2 months. So you could have a radish very early. So the reason why we're gonna put the radish in the front, the radish and the carrots in the front, because those are things that it produces pretty quickly. So you're able to harvest it. You're gonna continuously harvest it. So as you harvest the things like radish and things like that, you could go ahead and plant it again in that same spot, or you can use that spot for something else. So we could have radish in there, and then we could also have some lettuce. We can have some lettuce in there. Okay. We can have some lettuce next to the radish. Okay. So this right here, we're going to add a marigold in between. So the marigold is pretty much to help with the marigolds is to help with keeping the pests and things like that away. Now, actually, I'm trying to think. Maybe we should put the marigold. We could put the marigold like right here in the middle. We could put the marigold right here because the marigold can be used to attract pollinators for them to come and pollinate things like the peppers and things like the watermelon and stuff like that. But then what we're going to surround our cabbage and our collard greens with, we're going to surround it with things like garlic. So we're not going to put a ton of garlic there, like in one spot, because, oh shoot, we can actually put like 2 garlic plants in here. Garlic doesn't need like a ton of space. And what the garlic also do is it helps with pest control, because y'all know these nasty cabbage bugs and things like that, they're gonna come. It's not gonna get rid of the cabbage bugs, but it's definitely gonna help with pests. And it's gonna help with things like squirrels and things like that running up in your garden. And so we're gonna put some garlic over there. We could put like garlic and things around the edges as well. So if you want to grow things like garlic and onions, you could also put onions and things like that around there. I like to grow my greens with things like garlic and stuff like that. I find that it helps keep things away. So I like to do that. So you could put like garlic, around. You can put it around. Like any extra space that you have, you could put garlic. Any extra space you have, you can put garlic. Okay. What else we have on here that we could add in there? Nope, nothing. Everything else gets too big. So if you see the pattern here, oh, one thing that we could also add here next to the lettuce and the radish and even the carrots is bunching onions. So things like bunching onions are things that I know you guys are like, damn, that's a lot of stuff in like 1 square footage, right? In this 1 square footage right here. You could put bunching onions in this 1 square footage. You could put your lettuce, you could put radish, or you could just put bunching onions and lettuce. I grew my lettuce with garlic and onions, and I've never had any issues of bugs eating them. I've never seen like, and I also grow my lettuce in containers. So when I grow my lettuce in containers, I don't have any issues with bugs and slugs eating them or anything like that. Okay. So when you start, this is like a 2x4 bed. This is a ton of stuff in a 2x4 bed, but it works because you have things like your things that vine, you have a trellis for it, so it can climb up the trellis. And then you have over here, you have a pepper plant, and then you have a tomato plant. And those are 2 things that grow super tall. So the viney plants, they're going to grow up on the trellis, the vine up there, and then you have the plants that grow tall. And all of these things, they require sunlight, so you have to be very strategic with how you're planting them, because each of them have to get sunlight, which is the reason why you're doing it like this. So on the east side, you're going to have your trellis, you have your viney plants like your melons or your beans, and then in between them you could have some herbs like what's the thing called, like basil in between them. And then you have your pepper. You have 1 pepper plant in that 1 square footage, because your pepper plant grows super tall. It can also grow wide sometimes because it branches off. And you can also get a cage for your pepper plants so that it doesn't branch too far off. And then you can also control how wide your pepper plants get and try to control it to make it grow up instead of wide. And then you also have your determinate tomato in here, and you're going to have it in a cage as well, because they need support. Peppers need support. I forgot to tell you guys, peppers need support because their branches are heavy, because the pepper plants, they get big, especially if you're growing sweet peppers like bell peppers and things like that. They get super heavy. So you want to make sure that you have a cage over it anyway. So that also helps control it in that 1 square space. And there is I think it's like a Walmart brand, like this tomato cage is like a square foot. It's like a whole square foot. So you could have like 2 square foot of the tomato cage and have it over the tomato and the peppers to give it that, balance that I need. And then you'll have a marigold here. The marigold here is to attract the pollinators. You can have one marigold here, or you could have it like at the ends. Actually, I think we should put it at the ends. So we could have two marigolds. It doesn't have to be marigold. It could be any type of flowers that pollinators love. So what I'm gonna do is I will remove this garlic from here since we already have a basil here, and then I'm going to put the marigold here. So now we have two flowers, at the end that's going to get the pollinators to come. It's going to attract beneficial bacteria or beneficial insects to the soil. And then we have our greens over here that we have our garlic growing next to. We have our cabbage, we have our what is this, collards, and then over here we have our root vegetables, things that are interchangeable as the season goes. If you are tired of, let's say if you get enough of the carrots and things like that and you don't want to grow it anymore, you can remove it and put another root vegetable, something that have like a quick turnaround, or you could plant something else in there, but something that also have the same growing pattern as the collard greens and the cabbage, things that are not going to get tall. So basically you're going from tall to shortest when you're planting in your raised bed. If you're trying to plant multiple things in the same raised bed, or in your even in your garden, you want to go from tall to shortest. Like the shortest should always be in the front because they require the sun, and the tallest, they're always going to get the sun because they're tall, so they're reaching for the sun. And then the shortest ones you should always have them in the front so that they can get sun as well. And then things like collard greens and cabbage, they do require the sun as well, but they also like to be cool. So things like peppers and tomatoes that's like, next to them, it can also provide that shade for them. And also the basil, like they're going to basically they're going to what's the word, when they're going to go to seed. They're going to go to seed when it gets super hot. So having like your basil and things like that, like under your peppers or next to your peppers, even though they still require the sun, but having them next to it, give them a little bit of shade, as well as they will still get their sun and stuff like that. So they're still getting and giving what they need. So the peppers and the tomatoes is providing shade for some of these plants that will need it as well, especially things like lettuce. They're going to bolt when it gets too hot. So, having something that can provide a little bit of shade for them is good also. So, and everything that we just put here, you can mix and mingle it. It doesn't have to be in this exact order. This is just like a little temp type stuff. And then in this square footage here, I know like it looks like a lot. You can have like 2 or 3 radish in here for real. You have 1 lettuce, and you have a bunch of onions in here. These 2 boxes right here, there are 2 boxes that you could totally like exclude. You can exclude them if you're not interested and you want to grow, something else in them. But remember, whatever it is that you're growing in the front, it has to match the energy of whatever you have behind it, and it cannot grow taller than what's behind it. The tallest one should always be behind, and it's just, going down like that. So from tall, medium to small. Yeah. So before we go to the next one, let's check these comments and see what y'all talking about in here in the chat. Okay. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. If you guys are enjoying the video, please go ahead and like it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Please like the stream if you like what we're doing here today. Sam Marzino, yes, that's a determinate tomato. Roma is a determinate tomato as well. Thank you. Basil help with bugs also. Hey, Chanel. Oh my gosh, Chanel, where you been? A point is sweeper. Oh, I already read that. Yes. Let's see. Hey, how are you? I'm growing in 4 of those 2x4 raised beds, 20 grow bags. Ooh. Okay. So you say you're growing in 4 of those 2x4. Okay, so hopefully I gave you some ideas. And then we're about to get to the grow bags anyway. So if I don't want to grow garlic, can I make a garlic spray for veggies? Yes. So garlic, cayenne pepper, and a little bit of apple cider vinegar or just vinegar period with some warm water. It's a good spray. It's a good spray for bugs. But you don't want too much vinegar because the vinegar, it tends to dry. You don't want to dry your plants, and it can actually kill the plants. So don't put too much vinegar. Just a little bit of vinegar and garlic and what's the thing called? Cayenne pepper. Let it sit for a couple of days. Let it ferment and spray those mother suckers. Okay. Also, if you're growing greens, honestly, to be honest with y'all, when I'm growing greens, I have now decided that I'm gonna grow it by itself in its own special, if grow bag or raised bed or whatever, and then I'll put like a ton of flowers and garlic and just those type of things around it, and I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna grow things when I'm growing my greens. My plan is to grow it with things that do not need to be pollinated. So if there are things that need to be pollinated, then you need to have it open so that the pollinators can come. But for things like greens, I have not learned my lesson, but it has traumatized me. Those nasty bugs. What are those things? The caterpillars that eat the greens and make it look like Swiss cheese. It grossed me out so bad. I don't like to see it. So my plan this year is to keep it covered. So I'm going to plant it with things that do not need to be pollinated. So I'm going to put some garlic and basil in there, some herbs in there, things that do not need to be pollinated. Miss Yancey, that helped a lot. Is that an app for layout? This is Canva. I'm using Canva. So thank you, Valerie. I'm glad you guys like it. I'm glad you guys are finding this helpful. I'm glad you like it. But yeah, so I'm doing this on Canva, by the way. I do a lot of my design work on Canva. Yeah. All right, so we're done with our 2x4 bed. These are things that you can add in there. Okay. So now let's go to something that's kind of similar to my garden. So these are the same 2x4 beds. And then if you have like a garden like mine where you have like a trellis like this, like an arbor like this. So if y'all see this one right here, it has like a straight trellis. It's not anything, it's not an arbor. So if you have like a garden where you do have the opportunity to put an arbor in there like this one right here, lucky you. Some of us were blessed to have, a little bit of space where we can do this. So like what I do, I already told you guys what my layout is what I'm about to show you guys here. Okay. So I grow like a bunch of tomatoes here and I grow indeterminate tomatoes because I want it to grow over the arbor. And so it makes it look really, really pretty. And it does what it need to do. Okay. And so let's say this arbor here is a 16 by 50 arbor. I got mine from, what's the place called? I got it from the store that sells cattle panels. So I got this from it is a cattle panel that I have here. Some of you guys may have different sizes. Also, I just want you guys to know you could actually put this on your balcony as well, but don't get like a cattle panel that is a 16 by 50. Get something that's smaller. And then if you have like if you're on a patio and you want like an arbor situation, get something that's like way smaller than that. And it could still be, in the same shape. And then you could use like a grow bag or like a small container, like a 10-gallon, if you want, to grow something like that. But we're getting there. All right. So I have my tomatoes growing here. And then one year I added some cantaloupes. I added cantaloupes over here. Okay. Has some cantaloupes in here. If you guys are enjoying our little live design, please go ahead and like the stream. Okay. Like the stream. This was really hard to put together, but we're doing it. And I'm so excited. And I'm glad that it's giving some of you guys some inspiration. All right. So we have cantaloupes growing here. Now, you don't want to do too much if you're doing something like this, like, on your arbor. Just have like, 2 or 3 viney plants that's growing on top. So this is a square foot, and it really doesn't need the entire square foot, you know. So I'm gonna make this smaller. I'm going to make the cantaloupe smaller because we can add more things in here. By the way, we're gonna add, in fact, we're gonna add like a bunch of herbs in there. And also with the tomatoes, it doesn't need the entire square foot. The indeterminate tomatoes do not need the entire square foot. You could actually plant like 4. You plant like 4 in here. So you could plant like 2 in each square footage. Okay. I'm gonna make this a little big because your girl can't see, and hopefully I'm making it big for y'all to see. Okay, so we're gonna put it here. And then let me just put it here like that. And then we're gonna put it here. So we have all tomatoes, all indeterminate tomatoes. You could have, so let's say if you purchase the rainbow cherry tomatoes from my store, I think I have like 4 or 5 different type of rainbow cherry, different type of cherry tomatoes. I have the regular cherry. I have the peach. What is it? Peach something? I forgot. Peach bliss. Don't quote me, but the peach cherry tomatoes is so good. I have the what is that? Is that like the golden one? I forgot, but it's a bunch of those. Okay, so let's say if you have like 4 or 5 cherry tomatoes, they can all be in this. So remember, this is a 2x4. This is a 2x4. This is a 2x4 bed. Okay, so this is a 2x4 bed. All right. So why is it doing that? I hate that it's doing that. Okay, good. All right. So let me just get it like that. All right. So this is a 2x4 bed. We have our tomatoes going here. We have some cantaloupes going here. Also, I didn't put it here, but if you guys want to grow, what's the thing called? Cucumber. You can put cucumbers in here as well. You can have your cucumber here. So for the cantaloupes, let's just do 2 cantaloupes because cantaloupes, they produce a lot. You could have like 2 or 3 cantaloupes. Okay. So we can have like 2 cantaloupes in here. And then this is a 2x4, and this, remember, this trellis is a 16x50. So let me just put that there just in case you guys are confused. I don't want you guys, this is not for the patio. This is if you have like a garden like mine. You know, if you have like a decent space, this is so this is a 16 by 50. Okay. So this is a, what the heck? Why is this so close together? All right, let's see. $16 by 50. I'm going to just make that a little wider and make it a little smaller. All right. All right, so this is a 16 by 50 trellis. This is what I have in my backyard. That's the reason why we're able to do all the things we're about to do in here. So if you want to add nitrogen to the soil, which is always a good idea, you could add like a pulled bean in here. So let's get some beans that we're gonna add in there. Okay. So we're gonna put some beans in here. We're gonna probably put like let's put like 2, or probably like, all right, let's just put like 2. Okay. I don't know what time it is, but if you're up here late with me, shout out to you. Please go ahead and like the video, like the stream, okay? Thanks for being here with us tonight. Wherever you're watching from, let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Let us know what you're growing. Okay, so we have our pole beans. We have yada yada yada, all of that good stuff. Okay, so now we're going to add let's add some peppers in here. Cause this, okay, so let's just call this the Miss Yancey bed, okay? So let's call this the Miss Yancey bed. Like this is what I grow in here, okay? So I would have a pepper in there. All right, so this is not all the way Miss Yancey bed because in Miss Yancey bed, she'll probably have like 10 peppers in one spot. So this is the modernized Miss Yancey bed. So you can have like a sweet pepper and a hot pepper here, okay? So you can have your bell pepper and then you can have like a spicy pepper right there. Good, good, good. All right, so what else do we want to add in there? Okay, so we haven't added an eggplant yet, so we could go ahead and add an eggplant. But what I'm gonna do is, since we have peppers here, I'll go ahead and add the eggplant here. So let's go ahead and add an eggplant here. Eggplant grows really big, so you need this entire square footage for your eggplant. And we're gonna grow two types of eggplant. We're gonna grow the Black Beauty, and then we're gonna grow the long, I think it's called Eddie Long or something like that. I hope I'm not making that up. But y'all know the long eggplant. So we're gonna put two eggplants in here because, okay, so since this is Miss Yancey bed, we're gonna have one eggplant and then we're gonna have one bitter ball. So for some of you guys that don't know what a bitter ball is part of the eggplant family. It grows tall, very, very tall, the same way. So we're gonna put one, and then it also needs support. The Black Beauty eggplant, they need support. They need support. Their branches can be very fragile, and the eggplant is very heavy. They grow huge, especially the Black Beauty. So you want to make sure that you're putting something in there that you need a tomato cage, pretty much. Okay. So we have our eggplants in here. We have our peppers in here. So let's say this is the only thing that you have in your garden right now. Okay. So we want to, be healthy. So we're going to add some greens in there. We already have our fruit in there. The reason why we're not adding watermelon over here is because we already have cantaloupe, and then we have tomatoes, the indeterminate tomatoes on this side, plus the pole beans. That's a lot of stuff growing on one trellis. And even though it can handle it because this is a 16 by 50, but you just want one super heavy melon on here. So you can switch the cantaloupe out with a watermelon, but you want one super heavy melon on this because things like the tomatoes and stuff, the indeterminate tomato is spread a lot and it grows a lot. It needs a lot of space as well. So you want to give it that space that it needs. You don't want to grow anything super heavy like a huge watermelon with your indeterminate tomatoes. It's not an issue, but you don't want it, when it start, because they're gonna try to grow all the way up here, especially things like melons. They're gonna try to grow all the way down here too. So you want to just make sure that they have, enough space for each other. So I think this is a good layout. You could decrease the melons. You could just grow one melon if you want. But remember, this is a 2x4 bed. So now we want to maximize the space, right? So let's say we don't want to grow cabbage. We want to grow some collard greens. So we're going to add some collard greens in here. Okay. Remember, the collard greens needs its own little space. Okay. It needs its own space right there. And then what else should we add in here? What else? Okay, so let's grow broccoli. We're going to grow some broccoli in there. So we're going to put some broccoli in here. Okay. So we have broccoli in there. So let's go ahead. In the front, we're going to add, let's see, should we add lettuce? We don't have to add lettuce. We could add some spinach. Let's add some spinach. We add some spinach in here. Okay. So we'll make this bed be the bed of like our greens. So maybe we can add some lettuce in here. We could add some lettuce, or let's just add this rosemary in here because we like rosemary. Rosemary is a really good herb to grow with your food, especially with these particular things that we're growing with. They add a lot of beneficial insects to the garden. And then things like rosemary, oregano, and things like that, those are things that they're winter hardy, so they will, they will come again. They go all year round, so they're good plants to have. So if you have like a setup like this, I suggest that you have like a hardy plant, like a hardy herb in there that that will grow year round, or that will come again the following year. Because the more it gets bigger and bigger, and you want something like that in a bed like setup like this, that where you're growing a ton of stuff, especially going on like a trellis and stuff like that. It helps protect your plants. Also, it lets the animals know that it cannot mess with your garden. Okay, stay away from my garden, stay out of it. We don't want you here. So with the animals knowing that you have these particular herbs in this bed, they're not going to mess with it like for the years to come, because they're always there. And even during like the dormant months where you're not gardening outside, they will come out there and they're meeting up with these with the rosemary and stuff like that, and they don't like the smell, so they'll stay away out of it. So during the year, you don't even have to worry about animals like that. And that's the situation with me. I don't, in the beds where I have like a ton of herbs, the animals don't mess with it. So we're gonna add basil in here as well. We're gonna add basil. I love basil. Basil is a great seasoning. So you can never grow too much basil. You can never grow too much herbs. We're gonna grow this basil here in the middle. Okay. We're gonna grow it here in the middle. And the reason why we could grow it in the middle is because this is growing onto the trellis. So this right here is gonna have some space to still get sunlight, while it's also providing, some deliciousness to the rest of the plants. And then y'all already know, I know some of you guys don't like garlic. You can replace the garlic with flowers, but around my greens, I like to grow garlic around my greens. I really do. I love growing garlic around my greens. It really helps keep out the animals. Also, you don't have to grow the garlic to eat. If you like the garlic scapes and stuff like that, if you prefer the garlic scapes, this is really me growing garlic and onions around like these plants. It's not because I'm growing it to eat it, even though, you can eat it. I'm really growing it as like a protection away from, some of these animals. So you could have like your garlic around here. And then let me put another garlic here. So we can have one garlic. Why is it so big? What I do? We'll have one garlic in between our collard greens and our lettuce. And then this other garlic, it can stay. We can actually let it stay here, but I'll let it get closer to our broccoli. So we have like a garlic in there. And then I am going to have a flower. And so because the bed is so small, you don't want to get flowers that grow too big, but it's still important to have flowers in there because you want to get the pollinators in there. So things like flowers, you can plant it on the edge of the garden bed. Okay. So we're going to put our flower right here next to the peppers. And then we can also get another one and put it here. So it's bringing beauty into the garden. So you're getting beauty, you're getting food, you're getting all of the things. Okay. So over here, what do you guys want to put over here? What should we grow over here? Since we have like all the greens and things like that over there, we can actually add more herbs and things like that here. Or we could even add more peppers and things like that. So if you guys want to grow more peppers, you could add more peppers here. Okay. Let's see. So, oh no, that's what I want. We're going to add peppers here. Okay. Don't forget to like the stream, y'all. Like the stream, okay? Please like the stream if you're enjoying what we're doing here tonight. Thanks for being on here with us tonight. Please go ahead and like the stream. And then over here, if you guys want to add, I don't think we should add lettuce over there. I think we should add more herbs. We're going to add more herbs, onions, and things like that over here. So this is pretty much, this is the edge. Where did it go? I have no idea where I just put that. Oh, it's over here. I'm like, what the heck? So we can have some radish in here. This is, remember, this is a really big square foot. So you can put like multiple radishes in here. And it doesn't have to be radish, y'all. It could be anything. Okay. It could be carrots. It could be radish. Remember, the things we want to put on the edge are things that are interchangeable, where we can continue to plant throughout the season. Okay. So those are the things you want to put on the edge. You want to put things on the edge that, you can go ahead and change it up throughout the season. And then we could put some onions, some bunching onions, or you could put regular onions in there. So, and I know I'm putting like the whole thing in here, but it could be like multiple bunching onions that you are adding in here. Okay. Okay. Y'all don't say I ain't never did anything for y'all now. I'm doing this for a day free. Okay. So all you need to do is please like the video. Like the video. And for some of you guys that are in my membership, definitely I will be, if you would like for me to do this for you with your garden setup, let me know and I will help you out and we'll go on our membership live. So for some of you guys that would like to join the membership, that's another way to support me. And we'll be doing a lot of stuff like this in there because we'll be growing together throughout the season. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and add some flowers in here because we need flowers. We need flowers for the pollinators. The pollinators need to come and see these big, juicy looking eggplants. They need to come and get to know each other. Okay. They need to come and kiss and hug our eggplants. So let's do that. So indeterminate tomatoes, they don't need pollinators, but the pollinators like them. The tomatoes pollinate themselves. So they don't really need pollinators, but the tomatoes will still attract the pollinators anyway. I'm gonna put this flower. I'm gonna put this flower over here. It doesn't really need to be here. What needs to be here is a garlic because we want to protect our beautiful babies. Woo! Okay, y'all. Your girl getting tired. We might have to stop here. I don't know. Let's see what's going on. Let's see if y'all liking the stream. Let's see if y'all liking the stream. Are you guys liking the stream? What's going on? Let's see what's going on in the comments. Okay. Yes, tractor supply is what we were talking about. Thank you for all the ideas. So helpful. You're so welcome, Queenie. Please post your web page. Are you talking about my are you talking about my store that have my seeds? Is that what you're talking about? If that's what you're talking about, I'm gonna post that. I actually meant to post it in here earlier. So a lot of these things that I'm growing, I have the seeds. So for some of you guys that are not aware and you would like to grow some of the stuff I'm growing, I just posted the link to my seeds. Check out. Let's see. Did I post that? All right, let me go ahead and can I pin this? Okay, so here it is. Okay. This right here is the website to my seeds. If you guys would like to purchase any of my seeds, thank you so much for supporting me because it took me a long time to harvest those seeds. All right, y'all. So what y'all like? What do you guys think about this layout? What do you guys think about this layout? So of course, if let me go in here. If like for is it Queenie, are you the one that said you have a similar situation like this? You have 2x4 raised beds and then a ton of grow bags. So let's see, let's do this. Okay. I'm going to put containers, garden containers. So if we want to be like, just a little bit accurate my with my little setup, what my setup look like. So let's imagine that this is a let's go here. All right. 1 second, y'all. Okay. So we got that. So let's imagine that this right here is a grow bag. So let's say these are like 5 or 10 gallon grow bags or containers. So in my garden, so this is pretty much my garden, right? So I have like a ton of grow bags. So I have like, these little 2x4 beds in the front of my garden. And then let me move this really quickly. Behind this, I have a ton of grow bags, like a ton of grow bags, like these. Okay. So I have a ton of grow bags over here, containers, whatever you want to call them. Okay. So this is pretty much what my garden look like right now. So this is the entrance to my garden. So you enter my garden, on the left, you have this situation going on, that situation going on. And then behind this particular one here, I have some 10 and 5 gallon grow bags. And in each of them, I have peppers in them. And then I also have, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Let's create a new one. So for some of you guys that like the layout without these containers, um, we can remove them. For some of you guys that, okay. So let's remove that. So this is this situation here. Okay, 2 2x4 beds. If you have two 2x4 beds and you have like a trellis, like a 16x50 trellis, this is what can go on there. Okay. Plus, interchangeably, you could mix it up. But just remember, you want viney goes on the trellis first, and then you want tall plants, and then you want the shorter plants. Because everything needs to get the sun. So let's say this is mine. And so then I also have grow bags everywhere. So these things are like they're big in this picture, but I just want y'all to know that they're pretty close together. Okay, in my garden, they're super close. And when you're growing, whatever it is that you're growing, just be mindful of them having like the same, growing patterns. Like I grow like all my tall peppers together. So things like bell peppers and things like bell peppers and habaneros, they grow really tall. They grow really tall, so I grow them next to each other. So the lemon drop, y'all know I sell lemon drop in my store. The lemon drop, the buena mulatas, the poblano, those peppers, those are all hot peppers, by the way. They grow really tall. The lemon drops, not only do they grow tall, they grow wide. So the lemon drop needs to be like sitting in like a 10-gallon bag on its own, unless you're gonna control it by, clipping some of the surrounding branches so it can grow, so it can focus on growing tall instead of growing wide. But it grows wide. I allow it to do what I want it to do just so I can see the growing pattern and how it really grows. It grows super wide. So things like the buena mulata, poblano, and even what was that? Shishito. What's the other one that I had back there? The paprika, you'll see the paprikas, not the Hungarian paprika do not get super tall, but the Luchauer paprika, it gets super tall. So those plants that I just mentioned, I will grow them next to each other. Now the plants that don't grow super tall, things like jalapenos, what's the other one? Shishitos, Hungarian paprika. I will grow them together because they don't get super tall. So they're not going to, one is not going to tower over the other one and then shield the sun. They all are equally, they all get what they need to get. Okay. So, but yeah, so this right here mimics my gardening a little bit more. So I have this situation going on here. And then over here, I have, let's see, let's see, copy. Let's see if I could paste it here. So then over here, I have two. So this is a 2x4, but we're going to pretend that it is a 8x8. So I have like two 8x8s here behind the trellis. Okay. So let's say it's back here. And let's say, so we're going to pretend that this is in the back. Okay. Let me just move this. Y'all know what size this is. So I could put it back here. And then let me move this up. So this is just an example of what mine garden bed looks like. So I have this here, and then I have my Vigo garden bed right here. So I have a Vigo garden bed right here, and I think this is a 6x9 raised bed. And then in the back, I have more grow bags. That's where I grow my okra. So I grow my okra here. So let me show you guys. Let me just give you guys an example of my situation. Okay. So I can't tell you the exact square footage of my garden, like my entire garden back there, but it's not big at all. Like not even close. It's not big at all. Okay. So this is literally like my layout. And then back here, I have like my fence, my chain link fence, and I have a bunch of stuff growing on there as well. But in this bed right here, so let's say this is an 8x8 bed. I have peppers growing in the front. In the back, I had okra and corn growing in the back. But remember, I told you guys I switched it up because the owners of my garden decided to go have a good time and eat it all up. And then over here in the back of this 8x8, I have tomatoes. And then in the front, I have peppers and eggplant. And then in this 6x9, my Vigo garden 6x9 bed, I have cantaloupe, a ton of flowers, a ton of herbs. And then I also have bitter ball in there. Okay. If y'all want me to do like my exact garden and show you guys on here, that's going to be another day. But I just wanted to come give you guys some ideas. But this is like, this is pretty much what my garden really looks like. And then I just have a ton of grow bags. Like this is not enough grow bags. If I had to like put exactly the amount of grow bags here, I don't think we'll have space for that. So let's go on to the next. So this, I think y'all get the point. So I don't feel like I need to do this one at all. Y'all get the point on, what you can add in there. So let's just go here. I'm not going to do that one either. Okay. So this is where we're at. All right. This is for the people that have a balcony. Let me see okay. This is for people that have a balcony. If you have a balcony, I'm going to remove this. Doesn't need to be there. If you have a balcony, actually, maybe I should go there. Maybe I should put it there and then create a second page. All right. I feel like this is me teaching you guys how to use Canva too. This might help if you have Canva. Also, I pay for Canva Pro, so if you have the free version, you're probably not going to be able to do a lot of this, but you still are able to do as much as you can. Okay, so if you guys see here, let me check before we continue. Let me check on you guys. Let me check on you guys and see how y'all doing. Hopefully, y'all liking the stream. Thank you very much. Thanks for liking the stream. Okay, how are you guys doing? How is it going in here? If y'all just now joining us, let us know where you're watching from. Okay, let us know where you're watching from. How is it going? I love your garden setup and that grape trellis. Oh my gosh, yes, I forgot. I have a whole grape situation, y'all. If y'all want me, if y'all like this video, if you guys are enjoying it, y'all want me to do more like this, I can in the future. I like the layout. Thank you. You're so welcome, Valerie. Good night, Miss Yancey. I got to get up at 3. Woo, child. Have a wonderful night. Happy new week. Happy. Oh my gosh, it is Resurrection Week. Happy Resurrection Week. Happy Holy Week. Happy all of the things. Have a blessed rest of your week. Okay. For those of you guys that have to go, thanks for joining me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. So I'll watch replay tomorrow. Thanks for sharing before I go. So you can put 8 pepper plants in 1 2x4 bed. Yes, you can. You can put 8 pepper plants in as long as it goes, in those square footage, and they each of them need what's the thing called, tomato cage, so that they can not lean. They can lean on each other. Honestly, pepper plants can lean on each other. If it's only pepper plants you have in there, you can put all of those in there and they can lean on each other. But remember, you want to just make sure that you're paying attention to them so they don't get any diseases, because they still need to have enough room for airflow and things like that. They still need that airflow. But yes, long story short, you can absolutely put 8 pepper plants in there. You just have to pay attention to them and their growing patterns. They have to have similar growing patterns so they don't like stop each other from being great and allowing the bees and the pollinators to get to them. Hopefully that helped. But yes, you can absolutely do that. I've done worse. I've done worse. But good night, Valerie. I'll look at the replay and really appreciate you sharing. Blessings. Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for being here tonight. Let's see what time it is. Like, I'm losing. Oh, Lord Jesus, it's 11:30. Oh my gosh. OMG. Okay, let me let y'all go after this last slide, because I can be having you guys on here this late and I can need to go to bed too. Okay, so for some of you guys that garden on a balcony in like a super tight space, like a like I said, like a balcony. So this right here is like a sample balcony, right, in an apartment. And let's say, for example, your balcony is a 6 by 4 feet balcony, super small, super tight, don't have a lot of space. On a like realistically, you can actually put about 20 5-gallon grow bags on a 6 by 4 feet balcony. I don't suggest you do it, only because actually you can if you're growing vertically and you have like those, how they have those like benches that you can actually, like some people, they grow their food in those containers that they sell, like those bucket containers, like those 5-gallon buckets and things like that. You can do that if you have like a setup where it is like on top, it's like a staircase kind of thing, but that's still too many. So over here, what I have done with the 6 by 4 feet balcony, what you can do is have, what's this, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So this is about 11 grow bags, containers or whatever. So these are all 5 and 10 gallon containers. So these ones right here, the colorful ones, are the 10 gallons, and then the brown ones, or the, what is it called? Gosh, I forgot the name. But yes. Oh, why is it slipping my mind? But these pots, is it terracotta? These terracotta pots are 5 gallons, and then these colorful ones, they are 10 gallons. Okay, so what you want to grow in your, and you see that I have a trellis here. This is not the 16 by 50 trellis. This is something much smaller. So if you are growing, let me bring this to the top so we can have our list of things that we have growing in them. So we can have that up there. Let's take it all the way to the top. Okay, so we have our list of foods that we can grow. So we want to grow, as much things as we can on our little patio. Remember, this is a small trellis. I'm not sure what the size is, but but like the smallest one. Okay, don't get anything super wide. So we're gonna put if we're gonna have a trellis. You don't need to have a trellis. You can choose not to grow this, but if you're gonna grow any type of viney plant like a melon, you absolutely need a trellis. So if you want to grow a melon, you could have like a cantaloupe or a watermelon, but you have to choose one. Don't try to do both. If you want to do both, you can, but just remember that it can get hectic a little bit. Okay. And if you choose to grow both, grow like a smaller watermelon. Don't grow like a crimson sweet. Grow a sugar baby watermelon. So let's say you want to grow a watermelon and a cantaloupe, you could do it. You could do it on your patio. Okay. So we have one watermelon here and this is a 5-gallon grow bag. Yes, you can absolutely grow a watermelon in a 5-gallon grow bag if it's only one that you're putting in there. And it needs to grow on something. Normally you need a 30-gallon grow bag for your watermelons. So the bigger the grow bag or the bigger the container, pretty much is the more production that you're going to get, the more fruits and veggies you're going to get. The bigger the bag, the bigger the container, the bigger the raised beds, and where it's like just that one plant that's focused in there, the more production you're going to get because the roots have more space to grow. And the roots, things like watermelon, they have excessive roots. They need a lot of space. So, but if you have like you can actually put, like, I would say let's do a 10-gallon instead of a 5-gallon. So let's put a 10-gallon here. Okay. So let's do a 10-gallon for the watermelon. So we'll put a 10-gallon here. Now the cantaloupe can grow in a 5-gallon grow bag. I planted maybe like 2 or 3 cantaloupe in a 5-gallon grow bag. They all was climbing onto my trellis that looked just like this one, and it was totally fine. Okay. So we have our watermelon growing in here. We have our cantaloupe growing in here. They're sharing the same trellis. Remember, this is a sugar baby watermelon, not crimson sweets. Crimson sweets too big. And then we have our cantaloupe growing here. So we have melons. Fantastic. Now, everything else here, like the other 5-gallon grow bags or containers, you can grow anything else in there. You could grow anything else in there. You could grow a cabbage. You could grow collard greens. But remember, in each of those 5 gallons, you're just going to put one of that thing there. Okay. So let's say we want to grow cabbage and we want to grow broccoli. We're going to put it in one. Where is it? Okay. We're going to put one broccoli plant in there because broccoli and things like that, they grow tall. Okay. They grow tall. So we're actually going to put the cabbage over here. And then we're going to put the broccoli over here. And the reason being is because broccoli grows tall and cabbage grows wide and is short. And so, excuse me. So we're going to have the cabbage here. And now this is me assuming that you see where you're sitting. We have, remember, your balcony, just because you grow in a small space doesn't mean you cannot enjoy your growing space. We want you to enjoy yourself. We want you to have like your little relaxation space, your reading space, because you're in your garden. I don't care if it's on a patio. So you have your little chair here, your table, and your flower. And I suggest that you do put a flower on the table. If you don't want to put a flower on the table, you can put a strawberry plant. So let's go ahead and put a strawberry plant on there because that's another thing that you can grow. And strawberries can grow in a very small container. It doesn't need much. So strawberries can grow in like a 3-gallon container. So you can have your small, very small table. Remember, everything here is small because this is a small situation. It's a small balcony or a small This is a 6 by foot space. So you can have like a strawberry in like a 3 gallon container on your little table. And then you could still have like a small little flower, whatever flower you have there. Make sure it's something that's super bright, something that's going to attract the pollinators, because you still want the bees and things to come and pollinate your food. Okay. So you have your flower, you have your strawberry on there, and then you have your cantaloupe here and yada, yada, yada. Now back here, you could have a determinate tomato. Okay. You can have a determinate or indeterminate tomato. But if you're going to remember, if you're using indeterminate, it definitely needs a what's the thing called? If you're using indeterminate, it needs a tomato cage. Okay. It needs a tomato cage. So we're going to put our tomato here. Going to put our little tomato plant right here. And what I'm doing here is still giving you like enough space, because you can add more grow bags into this space. But we want you to have enough space to remember. You want to have enough space to maneuver around. Okay. So these 10-gallon bags that you have here, or the containers you have here, you're going to have it elevated on something. So maybe like a bench or something, like a, like if you have, one of those like long benches, you could have them sitting up there. And so up there, you're going to have like things like your peppers and stuff. Those are things that like grow up high. And then in here, actually, we're going to put peppers as well. So let's go ahead. We're going to put our peppers here. That's if, you want to grow a ton of peppers. We're going to put our peppers here. Okay. We got our peppers. And so these are like corners and things like that. Things that are in corners are getting some kind of shade, right? Which is where you see your chair and your table is sitting here, because I'm assuming that's where the shade is. Remember, you want to put like your tall plants and stuff like that and things that's viney, like on the east side of the east or the north side of wherever your situation is. That's where you want to put tall and viney plants at. And then as you go to like the west and the south, you want to put like the cooler, loving plants and things like that there. Okay. So you got your chair, your situation here, whatever. So we're going to put our peppers. We got tomatoes. And then honestly, everything else, you can put everything else here. Let's see what else we got here. We got some herbs. You can put some herbs in here. We'll put the herbs in the front. All right, we're gonna put some herbs in here. We're gonna put our little basil. And these are 5-gallon pots. So you're putting like one of each thing in there. Okay. You're not overstuffing it. What you can overstuff is like in like the pepper and the tomato pots, you could add one flower, like a 1 marigold or 1 basil. Okay. So this our tomato pot. We're going to put 1 marigold in there. Okay. We're going to put 1 marigold inside of our tomato pot. And honestly, we could put it like on this side so that it's, let the pollinators come and get attracted to it. And then, everything else, honestly, everything else, you could put eggplant over here. Okay. So these are like the tall plants. These are plants that are super tall. So we'll put an eggplant in here. And then what should we put here? What should we put over there? I'm trying to think. Maybe we could put we could put another determinate tomato over there. We'll put another tomato. But this is just hypothetically, depending on what you want to grow. You can even grow corn. You can put corn in here. You can put corn. You can put okra. Yep. You can put, so over here, these are all of our super tall plants, right? So your balcony is like this. On this side, you have all your tall plants. You got peppers, you have eggplant, you have okra, corn. All of those things can be grown on your balcony in this space. And then over here, you have some herbs. You could use lavender, rosemary, whatever. You got your tomatoes. Your tomatoes has a marigold in there because we need some flowers. And then inside of your watermelon, we're not adding anything over there. Okay, we're not adding anything in there. We can actually put this flower. Let's put this flower right here so it can be near the watermelon so that the pollinators can come and see it and want to pollinate the watermelon. Okay. And then even in the cantaloupe bag, because I have put 2 cantaloupes in 1 5-gallon bag. So you can actually put a marigold in the cantaloupe bag as well so that the pollinators can also be next to it and also help pollinate the cantaloupe and the watermelon. Okay. I'm going to put it right there. So hopefully y'all can see this. There you have it, y'all. You have multiple garden designs that I've shared with you guys. Hopefully you guys got some ideas of how you want to lay out your stuff. You see what can grow in the different type of beds that we have here. Okay, so this was like more focused on like super small gardens, like patios, balconies, things like that. Things where you're solely growing in containers. This is strictly container gardening. This is, unless you want to put a raised bed, you could put a raised bed on your patio and stuff, but you will be able to grow more, I believe, if you use containers or grow bags on like a patio. You're able to put things a little bit closer to each other, things that have the same growing pattern. You're able to put it closer to each other and grow more. So if I was on a patio, I will use more grow bags, like 5-gallon grow bags or containers. I will use those more instead of raised beds if I was in like a space like this. And you're still able to grow all of the things. You're still able to grow all of the things. You got your strawberry on the table here and your little cute flower. You have your little lounge chair. Now all you have to do is go ahead and put some lights on your patio, and now you have a whole situation. Now you're Jody's mom. Okay, you have a whole situation going on. Okay. A whole situation. And I want you guys to be mindful when you are planting. You have to be mindful of the sun, where it is located. So where the sun is located for the most part of the day, right? So things like peppers and tomatoes, melons, and a lot of these plants, they require a ton of heat. They require about 8 to 16 hours of sun a day. So you want to make sure that you're putting, the reason why I really support grow bags is because it's easy to pick up and move around. So you want to, if you're growing on like a patio and something like that, you want to be able to move your plant around the patio to get the sun, wherever the sun is. So the sun rises in the east and set in the west, right? So when it's in your backyard, sometimes the sun can be moving, throughout the day, before it actually sets. And then if you're somebody that have like trees around your patio and things like that, depending on the time of the day where the sun is, you want to be, basically moving your plants, around so it can be in a spot where it's going to get the most amount of sun per day. Okay, so just be very mindful of where you're placing a lot of these plants because they need the sun, especially if you're growing on a balcony or a patio or anything like that. Okay, so just be very, very mindful. And of course, if you grow up, you're going to double your harvest because you are growing more. When you grow up vertically, you grow your things vertically, you're able to have more space. That is the best way to maximize the space that you have for you to be able to grow more things. Okay. All right. And then don't forget, all of these things, they need to be water. They need to have access to water. So even if you are growing in like a situation like this right here, you want to be, and you want to have like a watering system going on. If you don't want to have to water by hand, like the watering pots and stuff like that, you can find like it's just so there's so many access to like these different watering systems where you can actually buy one of those 10-gallon buckets and fill it up with some water and the nutrients is extremely important. When you're growing in containers and raised beds, you are the one that's providing these plants with all of the nutrients. They're not getting it from the ground. So you are basically the provider of their nutrients. So you want to make sure that you're fertilizing them at least every 2 weeks, every 7 days, every 7 to 14 days, depending on what it is. So things like watermelon and peppers and stuff like that, they eat a lot of nutrients. They need a lot of nutrients. So those are things that you need to focus on. You need to pay attention to when it comes to like their fertilization. You want to make sure you're giving them what they need. So those are two things you need to be on top of, like the watering system, how you're going to water them. You have to water a lot of these plants at least every 2 days. Now, when it gets super hot, if you're growing in grow bags dries really quickly. So one of the tricks that I do, especially if you're growing in a small space like this one we're looking at right now, you can use wine bottles. What I do is I use wine bottles, the dark wine bottles, not the clear ones, dark wine bottles, and I fill it up with water, and I use it as a drip system. And I push it next to the root of the plant that's growing. Just, be mindful that you don't puncture the root too much so that it does not damage the plant. And then, so what that operates as, it operates as a drip system. So the plant will be getting like drips of water, throughout the day. A lot of these plants, they don't need so much water. Their roots just needs to be moisturized. It needs to be hydrated. Their roots needs to be hydrated, to produce what they need to produce. So if you're growing in like in these containers that we are seeing right here, or grow bags and stuff like that, the wine bottles is a really good idea. Or you could find, something similar to a wine bottle, to give your plants the water, especially if you don't have time to water them every single day or every other day. But if you're growing in grow bags, those things dry up so fast, especially in the dead of heat of summer. Like in the summer, they dry so fast. It's like they can never get enough water. But another way to also make sure that your plants do get the water that they need, I suggest watering your plants early in the morning, like super, super early before the sun fully comes up, or water it at the end of the day after the sun has gone down. You don't want to water it during the day while the sun is at its peak, because you're pretty much like not doing your plants justice. They're not going to get the amount of water that they need, because the sun is going to dry up really quick. And the plants need time to their roots need time to absorb the water into their roots. So if you're watering during the day, during the peak, while the sun is at its peak, the sun is going to dry it up really fast. So by the time the amount of hours it takes for the roots to actually absorb that water, it would have already been dried. And now you'll be like, wait, I just watered. So, just be mindful of, some of those things. Okay. It is getting really, really late, so I'm probably about to hop off of here and let you guys go. But I really appreciate you guys, hanging out with me. And so just be mindful of, basically what is it when you're starting your gardening. And when you're starting your gardening, the things that you want to be mindful is like, what is it? What am I going for? Like, is this my sanctuary? And essentially that's what you're doing, right? You're building your sanctuary. You want something that's relaxing. You want to come. You don't want it to be like, oh my gosh, not again, right? That's the whole point. Like, gardening is so relaxing. It is great for your mental health. And it's something that you should be able to just go in and forget about whatever else is happening in the world, and just submerge yourself into nature. So just be mindful, when you're doing it, like enjoy the process. What is it that you're going for? You're going for aesthetics. Like what we're looking at right now is aesthetically pleasing, right? Because we have our little arbor, we got the whole things, going on. So you could plant, you don't have to just plant marigolds. You could plant different flowers that have different colors, just to bring in that color into your garden. Everything is going to be green. Bring some other colors into your garden. Also, you're going to attract, doing that, you're going to attract a lot of beneficial things into your garden, like a lot of beneficial birds. You might even attract some hummingbirds to come sing some songs for you, some butterflies. Another plant I forgot to mention that butterflies really love is dill. They like the dill flowers. So after the dill goes to seed and it flowers, butterflies love the dill flowers. A lot of pollinators love the dill flowers. So you're inviting, think about those different things, right? Like what is the vibe that you're going for in your garden? Okay, but I have had you guys on here for way too long. So, but remember, you guys, I do still have seeds, in my store. If you guys are still, you're still starting your seeds. I still have a ton of seeds. I have eggplant, I have a ton of peppers, I have the rainbow cherry tomatoes, all of the things. Okay, so check out my store. The link is on the screen. I'm gonna put it back in here. But then also, if you would like to take this a little further, you want to get a little further into your gardening journey, I do have a membership. So all you have to do is click join. That's, below this stream. It says join, or you can find it in the description of this live as well. And join the membership. We go live every month, and we are in a we're literally in garden season right now. So we're going to be doing, things like this as well, where I could actually, get to help you out, with your specific gardening. Okay, so join a membership. Even if you don't need help and you just want to support me, join a membership. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Okay. So if you're a member, remember I can definitely help you map out your exact garden layout. So this was just, for the subs. I hope y'all enjoy it. And so this is just, some of the things that we be doing on our membership if you would like to join our membership. Okay. So that's about it, y'all. That's about it. Not Jody's mom. Yes, honey. I want to be Jody's mom, but I'm Aiden and Elle's mom. So that's right. All right. I already said. So that. Thank you for that very informative information. Have a blessed week. Have a blessed week, everyone. Thanks for being here. I still see quite a few of you guys. Here is the link that I'm about to share with you guys. And we're about to get our music popping. And I will catch you guys later. Thanks for being on here with me tonight. Boy, oh boy, this was one for the books. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoy the stream. If you did, put some thumbs up in the comments. Thanks for being on here with me tonight. I have a new video that I will be dropping this week. I know I didn't drop one today, but you have a new video coming out this week. And yeah, happy Holy Week. Happy new week. And may you all stay blessed. Okay. I love you guys. Remember, you're exactly where you're meant to be in this moment. Happy gardening. Love you guys. Bye, y'all. Let me share my membership link. Good night, y'all. You're very welcome. Here's the membership link for some of you guys that are still here. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks for being on here with us tonight. All right, good night, y'all. Let me end this stream.